She'll struggle. Matt Brown against Ronda Rousey, even contemplating a comeback after nearly 10 years away. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jennifer, have a nice day. For the WWE family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Thank you. Ronda Rousey hasn't made any declaration about returning for another fight, but her recent social media post where she admitted she was finding her love for MMA again definitely got that conversation started. After last appearing in the UFC all the way back in 2016, Rousey has started a family with husband Travis Brown following a few years spent in professional wrestling in WWE. The former women's bantamweight champion also became a successful author, and she even penned a script for her life story to be adapted into a feature film. But because retired fighters so routinely make comebacks, Rousey dropping a never say never when addressing a potential return raised the question about whether or not she might actually attempt to compete again. UFC legend Matt Brown definitely disagrees with that idea. "We know everyone would get behind bringing Ronda Rousey back," Brown said on the latest episode of The Fighter vs. The Writer. "As big of a star as she was, yeah, everybody would be all about it. Whether they love her or dislike her, we'll watch 100%. But I would say the same thing with Conor McGregor. You cannot take that time off and expect to come back at a high level. Everybody else is working every day. This isn't 1998 anymore, where you can just kind of be a fighter in training camp and then relax and then come back. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about years off. She'll struggle." It's been over a decade since Rousey last won a fight, and her last two performances both ended in tough defeats against Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. While promoting her autobiography, Rousey also revealed that a huge part of her decision to walk away from fighting happened after she suffered multiple concussions during her combat sports career, dating back to competing in judo matches all across the globe. That all seems to add up to a litany of reasons Rousey should never fight again, but Brown doesn't doubt for a second that the UFC would seize that opportunity for her to return. Still, Rousey's incredibly long layoff, injury history, and her overall age where she's about to turn 39 years old leave Brown confused why anyone would want to see it. "Maybe they'll find a matchup for her, like a Bethe Correia type or something," Brown said. "There are still those fighters out there in those divisions, unfortunately. But no, you can't take that kind of time off. There's a point where you've just got to say, I'm done. I've spent enough time away from the sport that coming back is not going to be a good option for me anymore. And Ronda's past that point for sure. She's got to know it too. The only question with her is just her ego. She really thinks she's the greatest fighter ever, and she can probably take this time off and come back. But it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You take a certain amount of time off, it's over. Everybody else is training every day. You're going to get outclassed in there." Considering the star power that followed Rousey at the peak of her career, there's little doubt that a comeback would get a lot of attention. But Brown's just not interested, especially at this stage of her life and career. "I wasn't interested in watching her when she was fighting in her prime," Brown said. "So a comeback doesn't interest me personally. Take that for what it is. Make up your own mind on it." Discussions of a potential Rousey, 12, to MMA, 6 to UFC return emerged after the former UFC women's bantamweight champion posted a training video expressing her renewed passion for MMA. Cejudo brought up Rousey's shared history with current UFC bantamweight champion Kayla Harrison as a reason why there could be a storyline for her to fight again. "She rekindled that love once again," Cejudo said of Rousey on his Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman. "There are videos of her training. She believes that she can be the champ once again. I will say this. People don't know this. She's beaten Kayla Harrison in a judo competition before, and now that is the reigning world champion at 135 pounds. Rousey, 38, has not fought in MMA since a loss to Amanda Nunes in December 2016. The other thing that you've got to think about too, she's only 3 years older than Kayla Harrison," Cejudo added. "I wouldn't count out Ronda. I'm not saying she's going to beat Kayla, so let's not start something like that. What I'm saying is, you still can't count her out, Henry Cejudo believes his fellow Olympian Ronda Rousey could potentially return to the UFC in the future. As we know, Ronda Rousey is one of the biggest superstars in the history of mixed martial arts. She helped introduce women's MMA to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and quickly established herself as the biggest name in the entire sport. Nowadays, however, her reputation is slightly different following 2 losses, a long break, and a stint in professional wrestling. Rousey still brings a lot to the table in terms of name value, but for the most part, she's stayed away from the cage. Now, though, she's said that she's getting her love back for the sport, leading many to wonder whether or not she'll come back. In a recent podcast, Henry Cejudo gave his thoughts on the possible return of Ronda Rousey. She rekindled that love once again, Cejudo said. There are videos of her training. She believes that she can be the champ once again. I will say this, people don't know this. She's beaten Kayla Harrison in a judo competition before, and now Kayla is the reigning world champion at 135 pounds. The other thing that you've got to think about too, she's only 3 years older than Kayla Harrison, Cejudo said. I wouldn't count out Ronda. I'm not saying she's going to beat Kayla, so let's not start something like that. What I'm saying is, you still can't count her out. Do you believe we are ever going to see Ronda Rousey compete in mixed martial arts again? If it does happen, who would you like to see her fight and why? Let us know your thoughts on this one, BJ Penn Nation. Ronda Rousey experienced one of the most dramatic setbacks in MMA history when she lost her bantamweight title to Holly Holm at UFC 193, ending a 6-fight title defense streak. Her struggles didn't stop there. After taking a year off, she returned only to suffer another tough defeat against Amanda Nunes at UFC 207. That loss ultimately led to her retiring from MMA, seemingly closing the door on a return to the octagon. Rousey did find success in WWE between 2018 and 2023. In a recent video, Rousey revealed she hadn't hit mitts in 8 years. Since then, she has been working with boxing coach AJ Matthews, showing steady progress in her pad work. Rousey reflected on her comeback, noting that she returned to the gym just 8 weeks after giving birth despite her long break from the sport. Cejudo also acknowledged the challenges. He noted that Rousey has little financial incentive to return, given she was one of the highest-paid athletes from 2013 to 2016, earned even more from the WWE and acting, and is set to receive a payout from the UFC's antitrust lawsuit settlement. Usman was more hesitant about the idea at first, but later warmed to it, especially with the anticipated Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes fight looming. He pointed out that if Harrison defeats the WMMA legend, Rousey could become a compelling option for her next opponent. Later in the podcast, Cejudo and Usman even brought up Rousey again while discussing the proposed UFC White House card in June 2026. Alongside big names like Conor McGregor and Jon Jones, Usman floated the possibility that Rousey could make her return to the octagon on that stage. However, Ronda Rousey recently ruled herself out of that opportunity. It has been nearly 3,000 days since Rowdy last stepped into the octagon, and at 38 years old, the prospect of a comeback, 9 years removed from her final fight, remains a daunting challenge. Rousey, 38, has fans buzzing about the possibility of a comeback after recently posting video of her sparring along with a caption in which she said she is finding my love for MMA once more. The former UFC bantamweight champion last fought in 2016, later focusing on raising a family and a successful pro wrestling run with WWE. But Rousey never completely closed the door on fighting again. On their Pound for Pound podcast, Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman debated the likelihood of Rousey returning and where she might fit in the current bantamweight landscape. She rekindled that love once again, Cejudo said. There's videos of her training. She believes that she can be the champ once again. I will say this, people don't know this. She's beaten Kayla Harrison in a judo competition before, and now that is the reigning world champion at 135 pounds. Cejudo admitted there's little financial incentive for Rousey to return, given she was one of the highest-paid athletes in the UFC during her run from 2013 to 2016, has made even more money from wrestling and acting appearances, and is due to receive a healthy payout from the UFC's recent antitrust lawsuit settlement. So, while he wouldn't bet on it, Cejudo warns against doubting Rousey's will to fight again altogether. The other thing that you've got to think about too, she's only 3 years older than Kayla Harrison, Cejudo said. I wouldn't count out Ronda. I'm not saying she's going to beat Kayla, so let's not start something like that. What I'm saying is you still can't count her out. Usman was initially more reluctant to acknowledge the possibility of a Rousey comeback, but he warmed up to the idea, especially when considering the still-to-be-official Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes matchup, and what would be next for Harrison should she defeat Amanda Nunes. It's an intriguing matchup because you've got Kayla Harrison right now potentially. There's no date yet. But going up against Amanda Nunes, Usman said, if she's able to get past Amanda Nunes, who's next? Who's the best option to bring back for Kayla Harrison to really solidify her status? I'm just saying there is potential here. Cejudo and Usman later mentioned Rousey again when discussing who might be included on the proposed UFC White House card, which is in the works for June 2026. In addition to the usual suspects like Conor McGregor and Jon Jones, Usman suggested that could be where Rousey steps back into the octagon. Then you've got Kayla Harrison, who was just at the White House with the president, Usman said. Kayla Harrison taking on either Amanda Nunes or Ronda Rousey. Either one, I love it. I think it's a phenomenal matchup. Rousey herself has ruled out fighting at the proposed event, recently telling the Lapsed Fan podcast,